Hey everybody, and today we're refocusing on how to paint the brain of the patriarch for the genestealer cults. For this, you may notice the other side is already painted, but don't worry, I'm going to show you the other side so that way you can see it better. So for this, we're going to start off with an unusual color for the brain. For this, we're going to start off with dark oath flesh, which is a contrast paint. Make sure you shake up your contrast paints or else they'll drop real shiny, and you do not want that whatsoever. Okay, now for this, I'm going to use a medium layer brush by Citadel, but of course you can use a small layer brush, but I highly recommend a medium layer brush or any other brush that's about the right size. Take some dark oath flesh, make sure you're not overloading your brush. For this, we're going to use literally all over the brain. So wherever you see any part of the brain, don't worry, just paint them all over with dark oath flesh. And with the contrast paint, make sure the paint doesn't settle too much in the recesses or else you're going to lose your detail. Okay, so now, while we're waiting for that contrast paint to dry for a second, now we're going to apply a different contrast paint. For this, we're going to use Magos Purple. So, shake up the paint. Now that our paint is shaken up, all we're going to do, we're going to take some on our take some Magos Purple and put it on our palette. The reason why we're using the palette for this is so that way we can make sure that we're not mixing it in with the dark oath flesh. So, all we're going to do, if you look right here, we're going to focus on around it, just like this, like so. Make sure to soak up some of the paint. The reason why we're leaving this paint right here is because we're going to make it look like the glowing psycho effect that the patriarch is. So, with the Magos Purple applied, we're pretty much done with that part. All we need to do is we just need to do one more thing. So, we're going to start highlighting. For this, we're going to focus on the tops of the brains. For this, we're going to be using a good old classic pink. So, for this, all we're going to use is a good old classic paint. For this, we're going to use Emperor's Children. But if you don't have Emperor's Children, you could, of course, also work with Pink Horror. So, for this, take some on your brush. I'm using a size 5-0, but of course, you can use a small layer brush or an extra small layer brush if you're using Citadel brushes. Thin down the paint a little bit. And don't do this on your table. This is just a spare table. It's just really messy anyway, so that's why I like doing this. Okay. So, all we're going to do is we're going to look right here, and wherever you see brain, all we're going to we're going to highlight the top parts. All we're going to do is going to highlight the most prominent parts. And if you make a mistake, don't worry, you can just correct it later on. So we're going to highlight around the center, so not directly on it. But don't worry if you make a mistake, again, you can just fix it later. Okay, that's the brain highlighted for right now, the pink areas. Oh, sorry, before I forget, make sure you follow and don't worry, just take your time, it will be worth it. So, now, all we're going to do is we're going to start highlighting the center of the brain. For this, we're going to start off with an orange color. For this, we're going to use Fire Dragon Bright. So, basically, what we're going to do is we're going to make it look like the psycho effect I was talking about. So, all we're going to do, if you look here, all we're going to do is we're going to take some Fire Dragon Bright, thin it down. We don't need to thin this down since we're using very, very little. Okay, so for this, all we're going to do, see if you look right here, all we're going to do is we're going to focus very, very gently. Okay, that's done for right now. So now we're going to move on to another orange. For this, we're going to use something really strange, but it's the right color. For this, for the highlights, we're going to go with the Jacaro orange. Now you may be wondering why we're using a base coat, but the reason why is because since Jacaro orange is more pale than Fire Dragon Bright, it makes it perfect. So all we're going to do, paint the Fire Dragon, so we paint the Jacaro orange, just like that. All right. And now, our last color for the brain is going to be another weird one, but it's a proper color to use. For this, all we're going to use is we're going to use a flesh tone paint. For this, we're going to be using a good old highlight of Kislev flesh. So, all we're going to do, shake up your paint pot. So, for the Kislev flesh, all we're going to do, take a little, very, very little on your pot, just like this. So, all we're going to do is going to highlight the center where the brain is. So, right here. Okay, so there we go. That's our patriarch brain highlighted for today's tutorial. And if you may notice, you can just paint the carapace, and I'll do a future tutorial on that. So for this, all we're going to do is going to leave it off on the brain. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial for the genestealer cults. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial as well. Bye-bye.